My name is Blair Stonechild, and I am a professor of Indigenous Studies here at First Nations University of Canada. And I think that reconciliation is important for one simple reason, and that is that it's necessary for healing. Even for Indigenous people like myself, and I went to residential school for 9 years, my first 9 years of education. And so I know firsthand what that experience was like, and I know the types of effects that it had on me and it had on other people. In retrospect, it was quite damaging in terms of loss of culture, loss of language, loss of identity, or not really realizing what really we had, what really was at stake. And so for me, it was valuable to learn more about what residential schools were about, to learn more about why they existed, to learn what they were intended to do. And so to me, that made me understand more about my own personal experience. And in doing so, it helped me to reconcile what had happened to me. For non-Indigenous people, I think they need to realize that residential schools were one of the biggest policy initiatives on the part of the Government of Canada. It was a policy initiative aimed at assimilation of Indigenous youth, a very vulnerable part of the Indigenous population. And so the assimilation policy really took place at the expense of Indigenous people. Indigenous people were basically the victims. However, most of the general public didn't understand, even when this was going on, what was happening and what it was all about. And so with the Truth and Reconciliation process and the whole review of what happened in residential schools, the public now has an opportunity not only to understand what happened, but also to take the opportunity to do something about it in terms of reconciliation. And again, reconciliation has to do with healing. And in order to heal, it's important to learn about what happened, but it's also important to take steps to do something about it, to kind of try and undo as much as possible the damage that occurred. And so it's one thing to feel guilty about these things, but I think, especially from the Indigenous perspective, the mending of relationships really involves some tangible method of doing something, whatever it is. It can take a variety of forms, but doing something to recognize the legacy of residential schools, but also to try and help to repair the damages that have been done over the years. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission made a number of calls for action, and one of them was for post-secondary institutions to do something in terms of reconciliation. And of course, many universities are putting on classes and initiatives regarding reconciliation, but ours is special. Ours is special because it's being offered by a First Nations controlled institution. And as many people have noted, the First Nations University of Canada, over its 40 years of existence, really has been all about reconciliation ever since the start of it. And so we have a particularly good understanding of what the issues are in terms of the type of things that have happened to our people in terms of colonization, in terms of education and the efforts to assimilate Indigenous people through education and other means. So we bring these perspectives to our program. We offer a wide variety of courses, not only in history and identity, but also in terms of healing. For example, programs in social work and education that are specifically focused on healing and reconciliation. So that's why our program is special. It's because we are offering it from a very strong Indigenous perspective and a very strong history of over the decades offering programs which really from the beginning have been all about offering the Indigenous perspective, about explaining history from the Indigenous perspective. And so, basically, being very well versed in the whole field of reconciliation. Yeah, the third question is why should people? And I think I've kind of said why should people take this program? Okay,
If
well,
you feel you've covered it.
well, I'll take it, because you can kind of take
Yeah, I can cover it.
parts of it, eh? Yeah. Why should people take the reconciliation program, reconciliation certificate? Well, it's an opportunity for many people who wish to do something about reconciliation, who, of course, obviously want to learn more about the history of residential schools, but also to take advantage of the opportunity to do something in terms of healing. And there are a wide variety of ways in which this can be done. What the reconciliation certificate does is it gives people the information they need, the background they need in order to, first of all, understand what it is that they can do that would be meaningful. And also it gives them a safe environment in which to learn about residential schools. It gives them a safe environment in which to discuss what is appropriate to do. And so I think it is a really powerful initiative undertaken by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and all the parties that are party to this, to take the approach of involving the general public, involving people on an individual and group level in terms of doing something that they can do on their own initiative in order to contribute to healing. And so this is not a government initiative from the top down, but rather this gives every person the opportunity to make a difference in society, make a difference in healing of relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, and in particular focusing on the legacy of residential schools. Doing things to help not only those individuals who have been directly affected by the schools, but also the descendants, and also to help people in the general public to be more responsive, to be more sensitive, and to be more proactive in terms of understanding the legacy of residential schools and doing something positive and creative about it.